First up on the programme today, we're talking about whether you've been a victim of a hate crime. Did you feel able to come forward and report it to police? Give me your thoughts on this today and your experiences, please. 03459 570057. So if you've been a victim of a hate crime of whatever sort, what did you do next after that? Did you tell nobody? Did you go to somewhere like victim support first or straight to the police? Give me a ring, 03459 570057. I'd like to hear your stories, but of course you don't have to use your real name if you would prefer to stay anonymous. New technology is being introduced in Sussex to make it easier to record and report all forms of hate crime. New software is being added to a special app to allow users to send a report straight to victim support services without the need to go to the police. It's aimed at empowering victims by allowing them to choose what sort of help they get. Let's find out more from the Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner, Katie Bourne, who's with us in the studio. Good morning, Katie.
Morning.
So is this an addition to an existing app already?
This is an existing app that's been set up to report crime, and so this extra piece is added onto that and allows anonymity, but it also allows victims, rather than having to report straight to the police, allows them to go to a different organisation. Explain
that to me. As a Police and Crime Commissioner, what do you know and understand about why people may not want to go straight to the police to report a crime like this?
Well, we know that hate crimes are very, very difficult to get people to come forward and report, because a hate crime is a crime against you for your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, your religion, your disability. And often people don't want to report straight to the police for various reasons. If, for example, they might not have friends and family who know about their sexual orientation, therefore they don't want the police knowing in case it goes to court, it becomes public. There are a whole myriad of reasons. So traditionally, this type of crime, which is really awful for people to have to experience, is very difficult to get people to come forward and report.
Is that also perhaps, in a way, historic as well, with how people have been treated by the police service in the past when they've attempted to report crimes like this?
Totally. I think a lot of it is to do with public confidence, and in the past people have felt that the police won't listen to them, won't come forward and help, and we've seen cases of that. But I have to say, Sussex Police are really good at hate crime reporting now, and last year they were one of only 3 forces in the entire country where the reporting of hate crime increased in all 5 strands, which is fantastic.
And about these forces' ability to investigate those crimes, how's that playing at the minute?
Well, Sussex Police have a dedicated police officer, Sergeant Peter Allen, who is their hate crime officer, and they also have ambassadors who are police officers in all the policing divisions who are there to help with this. And so their actual investigation side of it is improving dramatically as well, but there's still a lot more to do.
Okay, so as I understand it, the way that this addition to the app works is people can put in a few details about what happened to them and then send that to the victim support services perhaps, and not directly to the police. How confident can people be that once you've entered all those details, it doesn't get kind of filtered off towards the police service?
Well, people have to feel absolutely confident with the service, and that's why the app's been developed by a not-for-profit organisation. You can use audio recordings, you can use visual pictures and film. You can store it all in your phone as well for use later, so you can actually build up evidence. You can decide to report to the police, but you can also press the hate crime app and you can report it to a different agency. So in Brighton and Hove, it goes straight to the Community Safety Partnership Forum, and in East and West Sussex, it goes to Victim Support, who I commission to look after victims of crime. And then they're kept anonymous. All the details are kept anonymous, but they are. It will allow the police to know that if certain types of hate crime are happening in certain locations, then they can target their resources there. But the person's identity and that will be kept completely anonymous from the police.
Okay, so you feel that you're happy that people can feel confident they can use it and not have those details divulged straight to an investigations team.
We've worked very hard with the Mayor of London as well, so that this is available across London and Sussex, and we are very confident that details will be kept anonymous and confidential.
Stay with us, Katie, if you would. The Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner is with us, and so is Suchi Chatterjee, who's a hate crime caseworker for Sussex Police and a victim of hate crime herself. Suchi, good morning.
Good morning.
So give me an idea of what's happened to you. I mean, you're a wheelchair user, so has that been the cause of some of the abuse that you've had?
Yes, it has. I mean, I forgot 2 incidents that have happened to me over the years, and the very first one happened quite a few years ago. I was in my wheelchair. Don't mind people knowing where it was. It was Jubilee Square, and I won't use the bad language on air, but basically somebody screamed, "You cripple, the F word, as they went past me, and I just sat there in my chair.
The F word and the C word, because cripple is a word you very seldom hear.
Well, I was in shock, and this was pre-Fiona Pilkington, though. So although I worked for Sussex Police, at that time I dealt only with racist incidents and religiously motivated, so I actually didn't report it, even though I worked for them, because...
Why is that then?
Because at that time, disability wasn't something that the police were looking at. In all fairness, it's a bit like Stephen Lawrence, isn't it? We started to look at racism after the death of Stephen Lawrence. We started to look at disability hate after the death of Fiona Pilkington and her daughter Francesca. So I didn't report it. I didn't tell my colleagues. My best friend, I told, because she was just coming out of a coffee shop, and she was absolutely upset, and she actually wanted to report it, but I said, oh no, I'm not going to waste the police time. I said, I work for them, they've got better things to do.
So just take me through that incident. So you're in Jubilee Square, it's the middle of Brighton, it's supposedly a very cosmopolitan, forward-thinking city, and had you done anything to antagonise into somebody calling you an effing cripple?
No, nothing at all. And even if I had, who's got the right to call me that? I was literally waiting for my friend to come out with our coffee. I wasn't in anybody's way, because I'm very conscious that my wheelchair's quite big. So I made sure I wasn't in anybody's way. And they just thought it was funny. It was two guys. And I actually watched where they went. They actually went into the tattoo shop across the road. So looking back on it now in hindsight, I could have called the police. They could have been spoken to. But at that time, disability was not on the agenda.
How did that leave you feeling?
Sick. And
how long did that feeling stay with you for?
Still with me now. I still look over my shoulder. And it happened again, but this time Fiona Pilkington tragically had died, and so had her daughter, and I was in St James's Street trundling up as I normally do, and a very, as I found out later, drunken, stoned young man decided it would be great fun to try and grab hold of me and say horrible things like, look at the size of that, it was quite vile. I couldn't get away from him because I was on the pavement in St James's Street. What he didn't realise, that behind him was a police officer. Yes.
And so what happened then?
He was arrested.
Right.
And I'll give the perpetrator credit where credit's due. He did plead guilty, but there was no other way. But it was like all the bad memories came rushing back, and I actually went back into my flat, and I didn't want to come out of it. And it was my friends who were very supportive, and my colleagues. They were, quite upset when I told them, and I thought, oh God, I've got to go to court. And that frightened me as well, even though hate crime coordinator, it's still quite, disconcerting when you might have to go to court.
So you've got your personal experience, you've got your professional experience as well, and still you felt uneasy about coming forward and reporting that first crime.
In a sense, I was more worried about court. I luckily, because then disability was high on the agenda, and I knew it was going to be dealt with, and my colleagues were very, very supportive. But yes, I was still scared, very, very scared.
Casey, what's your reaction to what Sue Chi's told us?
Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. It's quite shocking to hear. And sitting next to Sue Chi, I've known her for a couple of years now. Even hearing that story again is still really worrying and upsetting. This is why hate crime, I made one of the priorities in the police and crime plan for Sussex Police. So they will continue to make sure that they deal with victims of hate crime properly.
Okay. Would you have confidence in using this addition to the hate crime app?
I really like it. When I was told, my eyes lit up like Blackpool illuminations, because A, I love technology, B, I think technology can help with hate crime, and also, I want everybody to report it to the police, because I realise now, first incident, I should have done that. Second incidents, even though I was scared, I had more confidence. But I do know that sometimes people don't want to go to the police, and I really understand that. And that will be great if people like me now will report, and other people think, well, no, I want help from victim support. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
And the reason not to go to the police in the first place, is it, you think, oh, it's somebody called me a horrible name in the street, is it worth using up police time, or is it the kind of fear of what happened, the kind of ongoing consequence of it? I mean, it's a hassle on top of a hassle, isn't it?
I think it's a combination. For some people, it's like, oh God, I'm used to this. I mean, sadly, one of the biggest groups that gets hassled and doesn't report it is people with learning disabilities. I mean, I work with, in my spare time, with people with learning disabilities, and they tell me horror stories. And when I say, well, let's go to the police, they go, oh, we don't want to bother the police officer, or, oh, it's just bullying, we're used to it. And I think this is something I want to sit down with them at the groups I go to, because a lot of them have smartphones. Which, you know, and I think it's going to be brilliant going, you can report this when somebody calls you a name. You don't have to be afraid to report it either.
But also there's that other thing, Kate, isn't there? Having an audit trail of this happened on this day, and you kind of recorded those details down while it's fresh in your memory, and that can be gone back to at a later stage.
And that's all part of the investigation process. You're absolutely right. So really critical. But really to stress, you know, this is available on iPhone and Android. It's very, very simple to use.
Yeah, what's the app called? We haven't named it yet.
It's called Crumbs. Now you've caught us. What's the actual app called? Self-evident app.
Self-evident app. Sorry, because we can talk about it until we're blue in the face, unless people know what to search for on the site. So the self-evident app, okay, on Android and iPhones as well. And so this edition is being added to it from tomorrow, so people can get it from tomorrow in the place they normally download their apps from.
It is.
Okay, and so hopes for the future, Suchi. What do you think? How do you think this might help people who've become a victim of a hate crime for whatever reason?
I think it's going to help a lot of people who want to anonymously report, because, you know, some people said, oh, I wish I had a way of reporting. Even though I don't want the police to do anything, I'd like them to know. I think it's going to be a quick way for them to do it. I think it's also going to give people choices, because you can sit there and think, do I want to report it to the police, or do I just want some support from victim support? It's about giving people choices. That's all we ask for, is that we have the choice. You know, if I deal with a victim of hate crime, they've come to the police specifically to me. But sometimes I get told at outreach where somebody's been a victim of hate crime, but they want help from another service. And I'm the first one to support them on that. I want them to come to me, but I also want them to have that choice. And that app is going to give choices.
Both of you, thank you so much for coming in and starting our programme today. Thank you. Suchi Chatterjee and Katie Bourne, the Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner.